Hello loves, my name is Wendy Weather. I am the History Drag Queen, and welcome back to another video where I am actually going to be answering some drag questions that I have scoured the intranet for. But before we start that, look at these earrings I made from scratch. They're stunned. I have another list of questions from drag artists specifically, or beginner people who kind of just want to know about drag artistry, and I'm going to answer some of their questions to best of my abilities. Now, my credentials for this is that I have been a drag artist for about 6-ish years, since about the end of 2019. So I think I've been around a couple times or two to be able to adequately give advice to other drag artists. And most of these I actually got from Reddit. So different drag Reddits and drag tips and drag makeup Reddits and things like that. So if I answer your question in this video, hey, that's great. The first one is, I am a show promoter for the first time and I'm trying to put together a show. I'm actually not sure how long the show should be. How long of a show do you usually prefer as a drag artist and or a drag show? Please help. Okay, so it depends on how many artists or performers are going to be in the show. So rule of thumb is a drag show is about an hour to an hour 30, depending. Usually if you have 3 drag artists doing 3 numbers a piece, each number is about, I would say, 4 to 5 minutes, give or take, just to be on the lenient side, maximal side. So that's about 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, and then so about an hour 30 if you're doing hosting parts and emceeing. About an hour 30-ish is about the roundabout time. Depending if you have a bunch of drag artists, say if you have a really big cast that's 7 queens and they're all doing one number, that's probably around about the same time a little bit. But give or take, just depends on how many artists are actually going to be in the show. But I would suggest 5 minutes per number for each artist. That's kind of the rule of thumb, kind of just a generic kind of rubric, but I would probably go with that. The next is, I have never glued down my brows before. I wanted to ask the pros, what is the process here? Is there a specific type of glue that is best? Do I have any tutorial recommendations, etc.? So you would actually be surprised. The one thing that you are doing wrong when blocking your brows is prep. And this is something I actually learned about a year or so ago. If you are not using an alcohol prep pad, those little square alcohol prep pads for shots and things like that, prepping your eye, because your eye has hairs, natural oils and stuff are just there. And when you put glue, just scrubbing glue on top of that, it doesn't really mingle well and it makes it kind of goopy and it's not going to be a fun time. So prepping it with an alcohol pad will help them lay it flatter and not look as oatmeal-y, give or take. But yeah, and the glue that you should be using is Elmer's Disappearing Purple. That is not a drag standard, that is a makeup standard. Makeup artists use it for blocking brows, drag artists use it for blocking brows. They also use it in stage shows now. You need to be using Elmer's Disappearing Purple. If you're using Spirit Gum, seek help. Next question is, I'm a baby drag artist and I have no interest in losing my beard. I love it, but I want to accentuate it more, and whenever I wear makeup and I'm doing drag, is there any suggestions on how to do that? That is great. Honestly, there's dozens and dozens, probably hundreds of bearded queens and drag artists and drag kings, queens, all over the spectrum. I would actually suggest, if you don't have sparklophobia like me, use glitter. Honestly, do a whole glitter beard look. I think Diana Fire does that as their thing. I don't know if Diana Fire still does that, but they used to for years, just glitter beard every time they're in drag. And then I think Lady Sasquatch uses glitter sometimes in theirs, and just use glitter. Put a bunch of glitter in there. Just do it. It'll be fun. Next question is, do any of you guys have advice on how to take up space and have a good stage presence despite being a pretty bad dancer like myself? Okay. Honestly, it's kind of your choose your own adventure there. I would actually suggest maybe actually learning choreographed songs like via YouTube tutorials. Possibly do Zumba. Doing Zumba, honestly, will help you like get in motion with your body and connect to it. Honestly, do Zumba. That's a great stepping stone. Start doing like Zumba like classes and things of like your favorite songs. Because I'm telling you, there is a Zumba for your favorite song. Also, if you know the dimensions of a stage you're going to be on, map it out in your apartment, in your house with painter's tape. Do that, and then you're able to like kind of get the gist and the space that you're going to be in. Be like, hey, what are the dimensions of the stage at the venue? I'm sure somebody will know. If not, they'll measure it for you, or you can just go down there and measure it yourself. And then be able to tape it out and, kind of configure that way. Next question is, does anybody know where I can get good wigs for cheap prices? I have the cheap plasticky Halloween store ones, but I don't know how to make them look good at all. Okay. Well, one, the thing to help make those like plasticky, like spirit Halloween wigs look great is dry shampoo. What you'll do is you'll just actually spray a ton of dry shampoo. Make sure it's not like a colored one, because I think there's colored ones out there now. Just regular dry shampoo, spray it and brush it out, and it'll take away that shine, and it'll actually look kind of nice. For cheap wigs that are decent quality, honestly, sometimes it just depends. There are wig sites that are, $100 to $200 per wig, but if you want like a cheap wig for decent quality, you're gonna have to end up going to like Mr. Bezos's like basement and seeing what's in there. But if you don't want to do that, if it's still around, the TikTok shop actually has some pretty decent, like good lace front wigs for like around $40 to $60. I know that's like, some people that's like, that's not cheap, Wendy. Well, yeah, but maybe like save up $20 per paycheck and be like, this is for a good wig, a new wig that's got a lace front, a whole 9 yards. But if you want like a wig that's like cheapo, go into Google and look in your neighborhood if there's any like bin or outlet bargain bin stores, because some of them are usually unclaimed mail or returns that have wigs there. And you will be getting wigs sometimes for like $5. That's how much this wig was. And full lace. I think the lace top something back here. It's a pretty great wig, and I got it from a resale shop like that. $5. I need help. I just got my first wig last week. It's a synthetic wig, and I have no idea how to maintain it. It has been a week, and she's already kind of tangled and knotted up. Any advice or tutorials or online that you really like that might help me? Okay. First wig, you need some things. You need a steamer. Especially for a synthetic wig, you don't need to be using like hot tools on a synthetic wig unless like it's on the lowest of low settings, then possibly. But if you're using a full synthetic wig, you probably need to be using a steamer to de-knot and detangle it all. Also use curlers via wire curlers or foam curlers would be great. Other than that, make sure you're not using like a boar bristle brush for a synthetic wig because it will create static sometimes. And boar bristle, let me actually grab one. So this is a boar bristle brush. You see it's actually made of boar hair. Don't use this throughout your entire wig. This is mostly used for like smoothing, because if you're doing this through the entire wig, it's going to create static, especially for a synthetic wig. Now, This brush is a hybrid brush. You see it has boar bristles and plastic bristles. This is kind of a decent brush for like just running it through really fast and like running out the door. But for detangling, you're gonna want a detangling brush. This is not sponsored. This is Black Magic. Y'all know what this brush is. This is Black Magic of the Devil's Work or something, because this is crazy. I have run this through the cheapest, craziest plastic wig like butter. Honestly, it's worth the hype. They have these at Target, I think now. Go grab one. Or go to your local beauty supply store. They will have detangling brushes. Just be like, hey, can I get a detangling brush? They'll point you in the right direction. Detangling brush, steamer, and you're good. Now, for wig tutorials, it's kind of like basic of like, you need to be watching James Mansfield and possibly other like wig stylists on Instagram. Probably you could just Google wig styling and it will pop up, trust me. Next question is, I'm a drag artist and I'm planning on doing a reveal using some tearaway pants for performance that's in a couple months. I thought about using Velcro since I didn't have any like hard press on snaps or anything like that. I'm a bit worried about it not being able to tear off as fast or smoothly enough during the performance. Is there any advice I could do? Velcro isn't gonna work. So drag queens, drag artists, kings, things, we love a tearaway. We love a dramatic reveal. Honestly, baby queens usually learn the hard way of to not use Velcro. Velcro, it seems like the simplest, like, oh yeah, duh, use Velcro. No, don't do that. It will get stuck. It is not going to rip off smoothly. You're going to want to use snaps. Unfortunately, you're gonna have to use snaps. There are these little like sew-on snaps that you can do like hand stitch them on. Those are pretty great. Other ones, you're probably going to either want to use a magnetic situation. You can actually sew magnets kind of on like in between layers of clothing, and then they'll close. And then you'll be able to like, you know, effortlessly rip it off and on. Or snaps. Do not use Velcro when making any tearaways or any reveals like that. It's not going to be a great time for you. Question is, I'm not sure what shoes I should be wearing because I'm scared I might twist my ankle on stage or hurt myself because I have a bad ankle. I can tighten my boots more, but are there any other tips and precautions that I can use before I perform? You couldn't have asked a better girl. I actually have a traumatic foot injury on my right ankle because in college I actually fell down not one, not two, but 3 flights of stairs. Did not break any bones in my entire body, like entire foot. The doctors were like, I don't know how you did it, but you didn't break anything in your foot or your ankle. You sprained every ligament and muscle in your foot, though. To like every single one, both sides, back and top, all your ligaments completely sprained in your foot. Great. Love that. Fun. So, for the types of shoes that I have to wear, it has to be kind of specific. I cannot wear stilettos. Unfortunately, as much as I love the look of them, I physically can't. I will be in so much pain on my right foot that I'm like, can't do this. You're gonna have to be like a kitten heel or a chunky heel girl. My favorite pair of shoes, actually, let me go grab them. These very tall, chunky Mary Janes. These are Wendy Weather shoes, okay? Because I'm not gonna hurt myself in this for the most part, because these will have you locked in because it distributes weight a little bit better back here. So my advice is to get a thicker heel or wear like platforms and something that just gives you more stability down here at the base. If not, you can just tighten your boots more. Not the greatest for stability, but it will give you that secureness of where your ankle, you know, if you do sprain it, you probably aren't going to feel it, but right after you take that boot off, you probably would. But yeah, I would say just get better shoes that distribute weight in the back more, especially if you have bad ankles. That's what I would suggest. Next is, I was hoping some other drag artists or performers would have some advice for dealing with the anxiety alternatives to doing live shows. Is it normal for drag queens to just do online content? Yes. I am almost exclusively a digital drag artist. So the answer is yes. Many drag artists who are like in rural communities and things like that, or who just don't like being in live venues around bars and alcohol, like me, do online things or private gigs. I would also try to get with any big businesses like in your area or like maybe in your county, and see if they do team building events. Maybe you could do like a pride thing for them or something like that. Would advocate for that. If not, maybe try to see if you can do like just like birthday parties or something that's like a freelancey. But you can just totally be a digital drag artist. You can totally just do digital drag. That, like, so many friends that I have are solely digital drag artists. They'll do like some brunch gigs, but like they mostly just do digital drag, because I think 2020 really changed the landscape of a lot of different things. And one of those things was nightlife and performers. We can do it online. We really could if we really wanted to. Yeah, it's kind of hard work, and you are pretty much a one-man band of, you are the producer, writer, director, everything, editor. So just so you know, it does come with a lot of caveats of stuff you're going to have to learn how to do. And the last question is, I'm trying to learn how to make garments for myself and my fellow drag performers in the area, and I would like to know some baseline tools of the trade to practice and to one day be able to consider myself competent in making garments for drag artists and performers alike. Okay, some baseline things, obviously have a sewing machine and or serger. Which I think they also mention, yeah, the other part of the thing is I do have a Singer heavy-duty sewing machine, a crafting table, and a dream, and also sketches I want to do. Okay, so you do have a sewing machine, tick, awesome, amazing. I would probably suggest actually just reading about fashion history. I would actually say there is, what is that book? I think it's like Costuming Through History or something. I'll try to find it. But it is going to help you learn not only silhouettes, but also just techniques on how to sew certain fabrics and garments. As well as there is an amazing drag artist who specifically makes patterns for drag costumes, for drag performers, both kings, queens, in-betweens. Like, it is, if you do not know who this is, I'm talking about these girlies. And last time I checked, I think they have some free patterns. Also, free patterns online. Go to your local library if you don't have a printer at home. Print out free patterns. It's honestly, it's kind of like a cheat code and you feel like you're doing something wrong, but you're not. Another thing I would suggest is always have tailor's tape with you, like measuring tape, tailor's tape at all times. So if one of your like drag friends where you're at the club and be like, oh, I want you to, can you make me this, this, and that? Well, that drag performer is probably already in their body and pads. Measure them and write it down, and you already have it. Also, make a log of all of your own measurements, as well as some of like the drag performers who you want to like make stuff for, on file, of like, this is their measurements in their full body, and you're able to like kind of calculate what sizes you should be using per pattern pieces. Or if you want to start drafting your own patterns, that's an entire separate video. I have dyscalculia. I can't really draft my own patterns because I'm bad at math. But there's dozens of tutorials on how to do that. Dozens. But the way around that is if you have like your favorite bodysuit or like your favorite dress, trace it. Take one of the sides, trace it out on like butcher paper or pattern paper, or you could even do it on muslin and like cut around it. You then have your own pattern of your favorite costume that you like the feel and fit of. It's honestly, it's kind of big brain activity, and you're like, that seems relatively easy. I should have thought of that. Honestly, it's just years of like trying to figure out what works. Copying, pasting costumes is kind of like very efficient and like, oh, great. So for example, these are actually the same exact pattern, just done a couple different ways. This has longer sleeves. This is my Marie and this is my black and white masquerade outfit. Honestly, if you have your favorite like drag costume or whatever, trace the pieces out on some paper and you have it and you can make it into 18 million different things. And that, my loves, is all the questions. Hopefully, if there were some drag artists watching, you learned a little something new, or if you were curious about some drag tips and tricks, hopefully you'll grab one of those and use it and try it out. Tell me how it goes. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and stick around because you might learn something.